technical difficulties, and we have technical difficulties. I've been up since 5, and getting ready for the psalm today, and I usually look at the news. I look at the news to see what's going on, and we have a major hurricane. Not we, but the world is faced now with a major hurricane. And when I looked at what's going on in the world, and then I looked at, the verse today is coming from Proverbs. Okay, Proverbs is coming from, and in Proverbs we have a fascinating. I mean, it is like off the max, fascinating. And this fascination with the book of Proverbs, it's telling you how to live your life, how to, where you're not stressed. Greetings of love and happiness with great gratitude for the Most High daily, Elsu. Thank you so much for joining. I was sending invites for people to go live with me today, to basically join me live, and we had some technical difficulties with that, so I had to end that, and thanks for liking this video, thank you so much. I had to end that particular live with inviting folks. I don't know how to do that yet. So once I get, that technical part together, and I have, a studio, it's set up where I could sit and invite folks to, basically talk about the psalm today, how they interpret it, how, they are looking at the psalm, because I don't want to dictate how we are supposed to look at the psalm, how we're supposed to translate it. And I say it's translated in the words of liberation, no pronouns. Some people may want to use the pronouns, so I don't want to be dictating in that way. So I'm learning, as I grow. So I want to use those words. I want to use those words, grow, because I don't want to just stay the way I was 5 years ago. I want to be better than I was yesterday, today, I'm not waiting to be good. Thank you, Elsu. My translation is healthy and correct. I want that to be for that translation. I'm looking at it as empowering myself, and I want to, show others how they can empower themselves, because what works for me may not work for someone else. However, what works for me may work for someone else. So it's similar to the oils that I'm producing. So producing these oils, these oils are going to be in, high demand, because people are using it and getting results. And I used it and got results. So because I used it and got results, I'm saying, oh my goodness, this can help other people. I'm not keeping this to myself. This has to be able to help other people. And why else am I existing but to help other people, not to be just about myself. Not to be just about myself. So we see how that translation, I want to be uplifted, because the world, we cannot wait for the world to lift us up. We cannot wait for people to love us. We can't wait for that. We have to do that for ourselves. So yeah, I am crocheting, and this is a mind experience. See, this is what I've gotten so far, but it is I don't know what it's gonna be, y'all, but it's a relaxing, experience. So I enjoy being able to learn. I want to shout out to my daughter in Indiana for teaching me how to do this, basically. I was going through a lot this summer, and I just was going through a lot. I did not want to go, crazy, like nuts. And I am thankful for that that's within me, to make me pull myself up, because I know some people can't. Some people out there cannot pull themselves up. They're so deep in the depression that they're at their weakest moment, and that's when wrongness comes in, And we when we get so low, we have to find it within ourselves. And I was glad I was on the island, because I was surrounded by the healing waters. So it healed me immediately. I mean, someone said, "You look happy," even though I was not. I was crushed and saddened. I wasn't, happy, but I looked that way on the outside. So when you see people looking happy on the outside, inside you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what they're dealing with. You don't know, how far they've come in whatever grief they're harboring within themselves. So we have to be aware, and of other people and how they're feeling. So and being aware of other people, we become aware of ourselves and who we are, So we have that advocate that we come here together to talk about. And El Sue, miracle oil is in a high demand for myself. Wow. I'm preparing to put my order in next week. Wow. Sharing this information on my healing process from using your miracle oil. Thank you. I am thankful for you, sister. I am thankful for you. For you, supporting the use of my miracle oil. You've encouraged your family and associates to get. Thank you so much. That means a lot, because I am heading to the Virgin Islands to pick up some more bottles. I have some here with me, so if you want, I can send those. And I'm glad for this because we're talking about miracle and healing and stuff. And the Ancient of Days, our ancestors, some kind of went astray, but some maintained, the discipline and the advice of their forefathers in maintaining, well-being. So when I look at the verse today, that's what it's about. It was about maintaining that righteousness, that honesty, that integrity we talked about a couple days ago. The psalm was, I think it's 101, talks about, I will walk in my integrity, or I will walk with integrity. And, that's another name, for the Most High. The Most High has many names. Righteousness is one. That's the name that I use for the Most High. Righteousness, kindness, beauty, love, honesty, forgiveness, so the Most High is manifested in those names and those attributes. So in Proverbs 19 verse 20 to 21, I ask that the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart is acceptable in the sight of what is right, what is good, kind, forgiving, merciful, and all of the above. So, listen, this is what it's... Proverbs is something else. Proverbs is like, that's what it means. It means, you're gonna tell this on a riddle. It's gonna be, you gotta figure it out. So I would like to see what others interpret this Proverbs 19 verse 20 to 21. What is it that it means? Because there's some people who interpret dreams, and tell you what they mean. Things have meanings. The things people do has meaning. When someone brings you flowers or, shares a kind word, that's meaningful. That's, meaningful. So we see in this psalm, listening is hard for folks. They can listen, but then when it comes to doing, it becomes hard to do. You can listen, you can sit there and, listen, but what are you going to do with what you have heard or the advice that you've been given? Okay? Because I've been getting advice. I've been getting advice in my personal life. People are like, don't go back to your ex, don't go back to a relationship that hurt you. Like, don't go back there. Move forward. So I've been getting advice like that. Now, am I going to take that advice? Am I going to take that advice, or am I going to fight for what I feel is my relationship, my person, in other words? Or am I going to let that go? Am I going to let that go? So when I look at Proverbs today, I look at it as listening to advice, and accepting discipline. because that is important when we listen and accept the discipline that we are that's going to strengthen us on our journey, and not pull us down into an abyss of, bills, an abyss of bills, I call it. Because going, living a life on this earth and on our journey, we are like squirrels or little ants, and we're piling and building, we are for the future. So when folks are not building for that future, then it does not hold meaning for a person's life. Their life now has been or is about working day to day, living from paycheck to paycheck, in that kind of, atmosphere, instead of a worry-free atmosphere where you're not consumed with bills because you didn't prepare earlier. So preparation is key. We have to be prepared, and that's something that some people don't understand because they're not mature enough to understand it. But as you get over 50, you want stability. You want, a house, and you want, these things. So yeah. So yes, less is more. Exactly. We cannot take anyone or anything with us when we transition. And that's why when people hold on to folks, it can be hard when they transition, because you have put so much into them and now they're gone. They're not with you. So we see this is happening a lot all around. We see we call it the angel of death, and my son doesn't like me to say that, but the angel of death is busy. There's a lot of that happening in the world, a lot of that. So it's important that we listen. It's important that we listen. That we listen to advice and accept discipline. I've been disciplined in my life, and in that discipline I have found, growth. I have found growth. in the discipline, I may have cried and, been upset and all this. But in that discipline, I have found growth. So when we look at the verse today, Proverbs 19, you can look it up. Proverbs 19, verse 20 to 21. I suggest people stay in the scripture. The days are getting to be not good, and it's important that we stay in the Bible. We read it, we live it, we try to, fix our lives to be in relation to something higher than ourselves, and that something is that righteousness, that goodness, that mercy, that love, that forgiveness, that long suffering, that we don't we don't go astray. And going astray can happen when we're at our lowest. When we're at our lowest and hardest time in our lives, right? And that's when I tell people, that's when, the devil comes to you. And if you're not yoked up with what people call Jesus, I call that righteousness. If you're not yoked up with that, you're gonna get, in evil's lair. You will get in that lair of not good, nasty situations. And people, people don't realize that until it's too late. And in Proverbs 19, verse 20 to 21, it says that when you listen to advice and accept discipline, at the end, when you're at the end of your time, or the end of your journey, the end of anything, the end of your relationship, the end of, the end of anything, you will be counted among the wise, right? You will be counted among the wise. So, in other words, you're going to be you're going to be in the right place. You're going to be in the right place. And that right place, is that loving space, is that loving, genuine love, right? That can be from a distance. It can be from miles away, but you still feel it. And when you've lost that, you've lost it, with someone. It's gone. And people, allow that distance to separate them. And when in fact that distance is supposed to bring them closer together in, love. And sometimes that's not the case. People are not long suffering. They don't want to wait. People are impatient. They're selfish. It's a lot of things that could be the case. However, you want to know that you want to stay in that, space of, discipline and, truth. You don't want to be in a space of lies. You're telling one lie to cover up a next lie. You're sleeping with someone and you're, having, sex with someone else. And All these things happen. um, these things, to me, is going to be happening in these final, days. People are going to be lovers of themselves. They're going to just be, all of this about themselves. And not loving and, genuinely caring. That's what is written is going to happen. There's going to be betrayals. All this stuff is going to happen. That's why it's nothing new under the sun. Nothing new. So, in Proverbs, we see that many are the plans in a person's heart. Like, you may have a lot of plans in your heart. You want to do this, you want to do that. That's me, right? I have all these plans in my heart. But however, it's the Lord's purpose. It's the Lord's purpose that prevails. So the Lord wants you to be single, then that's the purpose. That's the Lord's, purpose. You are where you are at the moment that you are at that. Someone said we are all where we're supposed to be. And some people are not where they're supposed to be. They're in abusive, situations and unloving situations. And some people spend their lives without the one that they truly love. And they end up alone, Either, their partner, their person left, or their person passed away. Whatever the case may be, we have that advocate that is the goodness and mercy and righteousness. So, what do you think? This could be a shoe. It could be some kind of, I don't know what it can be, but it's something. Moccasins, maybe, right? So that's the purpose of righteousness is going to prevail. The purpose of goodness is going to prevail. That's what's going to prevail. So when we look at, Proverbs, it kind of jumps off into, it is relaxing. It's so relaxing that I'm just I'm not doing the psalm, but I want to share Max Lucado, because listening to the advice and accepting discipline, sometimes we don't listen. So that's where I'm going with all of this, okay? Is that we won't be able to listen unless we are yoked. Yeah, and that's why people who are not yoked with each other, they don't listen to each other. It's always a pull and a tug and an argument because they're not yoked. And you have to be yoked with Jesus. And who is Jesus? You got to get to know that, right? Love, kindness, long suffering, honesty, humility, and sometimes that's going to be betrayed. People are going to betray all of those attributes for their own, desires. That's flesh, most likely. And when we do that, we lose in the end, because the Proverbs today, listen to advice and accept discipline, right? And at the end you will be counted among the wise. Like, you're going to be counted among those who have sense. Like, okay, she saved up. Okay, she got a secret account. She saved up. She's, preparing for, the future. My nonprofit I started, I named it Future is Here, because it's here. It's not tomorrow. It's not yesterday. It is now. It's here. So when we talk about listening, that's what we have to listen. I told people that in my relationships, I'm not going to say what, but I've been with people that didn't listen. Okay? My children's dad didn't listen. And in that, we reap the results when we don't listen. Just like with, children who don't hear gonna feel, right? We say that in the island. Who don't hear gonna feel. And the Rastafarians say it even better than I could say it. You better stand firm or you're gonna feel worm. So we don't want to be in a regretful situation or state of mind. We don't want that. We want to be in a state of mind that relaxes. That's why I'm doing this crocheting while I'm doing the psalm. I have to do something with my hands. Either I'm painting, planting, or problem solving. Painting, planting, or problem solving. The 3 P's. Okay? And you can do that. People have painting parties. So you can do that. You can do that. So I'm tying it together here. Okay? Proverbs 19:20-21 and Isaiah 26 verse 7. So Isaiah 26 verse 7 is talking about the path of life. The path of life. It's not saying the path of death. The path of life. Right? The path of life. And the path of life is level. Level meaning it's steady. It's not unsteady. It's level. It's level. And it's level for those who are righteous. It's not just level, it's level for those who are righteous. Check that out. That's why Isaiah is my guy. Isaiah is my guy. It's level for those who are righteous. And righteous with who? With the Most High. So you're going to be good with everybody else once you're good with that first. That's why it says Selassie first. It says, God first. Seek first the kingdom of the Lord. We talk about that. You got to seek that first, not what's between somebody's legs. And when you're mature in Christ, you're going to seek after what's in somebody's mind, not what's between their legs. So the Proverbs 19:20-21 and Isaiah 26 verse 7, you righteousness is making the way of life smooth for folks that are right, that are righteous, that are kind, humble. The meek will inherit the earth. It talks about that. These are the ones going to be make the way smooth. Okay? Those who are righteous with God. And that's what God is. Righteousness. Righteousness. And that righteousness is what will prevail. That righteousness of the Most High. The Most High has a purpose. And that purpose is going to prevail. And that purpose is righteousness, goodness, mercy, kindness, honor, humility, forgiveness, all of that. All of that. So this is the yoke that is being talked about. And Max Lucado, he comments on Isaiah. He comments on Isaiah and he says, Jesus spoke, "Take my yoke." So Max Lucado says he had made countless yokes as a carpenter. So a yoke is that instrument that joins two oxen so they can work together. Okay, so that's what a yoke is. It's an instrument that brings two things together, two people together. You know, that's what that yoke means. And they can work together. But when you see individuals not able to work together, when they're not able to work together, they're not yoked. Yes, we're going to have disagreements, but solutions are going to be found when people are yoked. They're going to, let's, this is a solution. Let's do this. What do you think? And that's how they operate in a yoked mentality. So Max Lucado comments about this because he looks at Isaiah 26 verse 7 as, representing that yoke with righteousness, that you're one with that, right? And Max Lucado says, however, before we can be yoked with righteousness, with, Jesus, we have to admit that we're in need. We have to admit that we need, okay? We have to admit that we need righteousness. We need, God, Lord, Jesus, Selassie the first, however you want to call that. We need that. And then it's a question, Master God is like, don't we? Don't we need it? So a lot of us are out there plowing on our own. Yeah. Plowing on our own, dragging a yoke where Jesus is supposed to be. And I tell folks that you call on Jesus in Jesus' name, but you're out here lying and cheating and desecrating your relationships by going off with other folks. So how much is Jesus really in people's lives? Are they living that example? I don't know. I don't know. I have to live that example myself. And I have to let folks go who is not. I've had to do that bit before. And if you are not, able to be trusted, is because you were betrayed. You betrayed. And we're looking at, we looked at the book of Matthew and talking about Judas agrees to betray Jesus. People make choices and they agree to do these things that betray their relationship. And it's evidentiary in the story of Judas betraying Jesus. So we see this happening. Is nothing new under the sun. And the psalm today ties it all together, because we have Proverbs 19:20-21 talking about listening. Then Max Lucado's comment about Isaiah 26 verse 7 being yoked with righteousness, joining together with that righteousness so that things can work good in your life. Right? So that to me is beautiful, because you're going to live a life of no stress. And you may have plans in your heart, for this or for that, or but guess whose purpose is going to prevail? Righteousness. If that's not right for you to be with that's not going to be. Righteousness is going to prevail. So accept what is, because righteousness is that prevailing force. So we're getting up to the 8 a.m. hour, and in that 8 a.m. hour, we're looking at Psalm 118. And Psalm 118 brings everything full circle, in that it tells us about that steadfast love that endures. So all of this, listening to advice, all of this is tied in, being yoked with righteousness, is how that steadfast love endures. So when we talk about steadfast love, we talked about it on this channel before. And that steadfast love gives us a foundation. It is, I'm shaking this camera. It's on the table. It gives us a foundation. And that foundation is that beginning of that relationship we're talking about, building with righteousness, building that relationship with God, with, Lord, with, Jesus, however you want to put that. That relationship is being built. And in that building of that relationship, you're going to find yourself alone. You're going to be alone. Just know that. You're going to be alone. And in that time, there's a season where you will not be alone. But if you find yourself alone, that's for a season. That's for a time. So in Psalm 118, it starts with giving thanks. So with all of this, listening, and I talked about it, people can listen, but what about action? You can sit there and listen, and be disciplined, but it's for you to act. It's for you to act. And how are you going to act? You're going to give thanks according to this Psalm 118. Give thanks to righteousness, for righteousness is good, right? Righteousness is steadfast love, keeps on keeping on. It don't stop. Okay? Righteousness keeps on keeping on. So you may have an orgasm that lasts a couple seconds, and that's great, and you feel good, but that's the flesh, right? What endures longer is the steadfast love of righteousness. That is going to sustain longer than your orgasmic experience in sex. Okay. So when we tie ourselves to the flesh, it's going to want more again and want more again. When it doesn't get it, it's going to react in a negative way. So fulfilling our purpose as righteousness demands, we will endure in that. So verse 1 in Psalm 118 is, giving thanks. That's the action you have to do behind anything. You give thanks. So in that giving thanks, verse 2 now is telling about let I speak. Steadfast love endures for all time. And now it's talking about let all the houses speak this. All the houses, your house, my house, all the houses should be speaking steadfast love endures forever. There shouldn't be arguments in your home, disagreements, quarrels. It should be steadfast love endures forever. You can get angry. People punch walls and do this and do that. That's anger. That somebody is hurt when that is happening. So the steadfast love endures for all time. And then verse 5 now is talking about distress. How out of distress, calling on the Lord out of distress. And because you had that steadfast love, right? Because that steadfast love is among you, around you, enduring in you, you were answered and set free. You were answered and set free because righteousness is on your side and you're not going to be afraid. What can a woman do to you or a man do to you? You're not going to be afraid. So when I look at this psalm, I see how I was in distress and I called on the Most High and the Most High set me free. Set me free from the bondage of a relationship or relationships I was set free from. I was answered out of the distress of being in those relationships. I remember when I was in a relationship in California, and one night, 2 a.m., I'm in the living room, sleeping on the floor, crying in distress to be set free from this relationship. very abusive and unhappy. So I was set free. So I look at those times and I said, righteousness has been on my side from such time ago. What can human being do to me? Put me down, call me names, cheat on me. What can human beings do to me, right? When righteousness is on my side and is a helper, I'm going to look in triumph on those that hate me, And hate is a very strong word, but this is what folks do. They hate you to the point where they leave voicemails cursing you out. Seriously, people do that. I never knew that until now, that people can hate so much to the point they can hurt someone else. And you see it on ID, you see it on these, crime shows, a crime of passion and all this stuff. This is what happens when people are not standing in love with righteousness. They're standing in their own standing, and they're not standing in that righteous place. So they're not going to reap the benefits of that. So hate is not good. We don't want to hate. Hate is not good at all. So that's why I don't want to hate anyone. I'm going to just love. Thank you for joining. Like this video. If you don't like the video, keep it to yourself. But like the video. Come on, like the video. Anyway, in verse 8, this is Psalm 118, verse 8. And Psalm 118 is about love is going to endure. Steadfast love is going to endure. Okay? It's going to endure for all time. And that's the love that we want. We want that higher love. So, it's better to take safety in righteousness than to trust in a person. That is so true. I'm telling you, my trust for people is kind of waning. It's waning because of people's actions. So because of people's actions, I'm not able to trust. And this is what it's talking about. It's better to take safety in righteousness, long suffering, being alone. It's better to take safety there than to trust in people, because this is what they're going to do. It's, look at what happened to Jesus. He was betrayed. So if he was betrayed and he's the Lord of the, he is the man of the man of the man, imagine what's going to happen to you. So it's better to take safety in righteousness than to trust in folks, or to trust in, people that, say they're going to do this or say they're going to do that. I'm better off taking safety in the Most High. Thank you, Elsu. You answer. It's better taking safety in the Most High. That's who I'm going to wait on. I'm not waiting on you to get your life together. You can stay there and get your life together, but I'm not waiting on you. I'm going to wait on that righteousness. It's better for me. It's safe. Look, I'm going to be safe, okay? I'm going to stay in a safe space. I'm here on the Eastern Shore. Okay, I'm going to stay in a safe space. No matter where I go, I may get a job in Texas. I may have to teach in Texas. I may have to teach in Austin, the University of Texas, Austin, may want me. So I may have to be where I have to be. Or I may teach in Alabama. I may go there and, teach. So, or I may stay here. So you got to stay tuned, those who are, joining. You got to stay tuned. But we look at who has been the strength, who's a safe space. So verse 10, all the nations surrounded me in the name of righteousness. I cut them off. You're cut off. In the name of righteousness, you're cut off completely. Yeah. In the name of righteousness, you're cut off. I was pushed hard so that I was falling. Yeah. I was pushed hard against, I was pushed hard to the point where I was falling. And guess who lifted me up and strengthened me? The Most High. Righteousness. Righteousness of the Most High is what prevailed. Exactly what the verse of the day, Proverbs 19:20-21, talks about. That righteousness's purpose is going to prevail. You might have plans to do this, that, and the other. However, trust that righteousness is going to direct it accordingly. So, you don't have to put your 2 cents in it. All you got to do is listen to advice and accept discipline. And at the end, you will be counted okay. You're going to be okay. So, worrying and all that doesn't help. It just adds stress to your life. Okay? It adds stress. So we don't want that. We want to be stress-free so that when we get in our 50s, we look like we're in our 40s. When we get to our 60s, we look like we're in our 50s or something. You know what I mean? So we have to, change our attitudes. Look at it now, y'all. It can be a little... We have to change our attitudes so we can have a high altitude. And that positive attitude gives us, thank you, Elsu, it gives us a positive feeling. We get our good positive endorphins, so we can wash away the cortisol. That's a stress hormone. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and that stress hormone can eat up your insides. We don't want that. We don't want that stress hormone at all. So we err on the side of kindness and goodness. That's what we do. We stay in that place. So when you were pushed hard and you were falling, guess who picked you up? That was righteousness. You stayed in your good place. And then we have verse 14. I love this one. This one can be played to music. Righteousness is thy strength and thy song. I like that. Righteousness is thy strength and thy song. Yep. So that's verse 14. That can be turned into some lyrics right there. Who are my musicians? I need musicians out there so we can get this band going. Righteousness has become a salvation. I and I salvation. So righteousness has become I and I salvation. And glad songs. So glad songs of salvation are in the tents of the righteous. So when you go to somebody's house, they have glad songs on, songs that are glad, talking about, good, glad. Like, we gonna make happy, songs that are glad with lyrics, with glad lyrics, in other words. And these songs of gladness, they make us happy. And because it's righteousness that's being, musical righteousness. We're at the hour here, y'all. Um, so in verse 15, there's a quote. The righteousness of the Most High does valiantly. The righteousness of the Most High exalts. The righteousness of the Most High does valiantly. So it's being repeated. So that's the place to stay, is in that righteousness. That's where you stay, y'all. You got to live there, marinate in it. Okay? What does verse 17 talk about? I shall not die, but I shall live. Meaning, yes, we all have to die. Our flesh is going to go, right? What does that mean to me? It means we're going to be, we're alive. You know, we're alive, so we have to put life into action. You know, we have to do. We can't sit on our laurels. We have to do, right? And we have to recount. We have to talk about and count the works of righteousness and talk about that. What happened good to you today? What happened good to you today at work? What happened to you today, Connie? What happened to you today at work, right? So that discipline of the Most High, I'm gonna have to call you back, Connie. The discipline of righteousness is severe. Okay, it's severe. However, that discipline has not given you over to death. You're still alive. Your heart may be broken, but guess who heals the broken heart? Yep, righteousness. The Most High does. So you are going to be okay. And in that space, you have an advocate. In that space of, broken heart, you have an advocate. So you're not going to perish once you stay in that space of goodness. So open to I and I the gates of righteousness, that I and I may enter through these gates. You want to enter through those. Okay? And give thanks. I want to enter through these gates and give thanks. So verse 20, righteousness is the gate of the Most High. The righteous shall enter through it because it's a righteous gate. Okay? Wrongness is not going to go through it. Wrongness is not going to go through that gate. Okay? And you may want to pull folks who wrong into that gate, and then you end up drowning with them. You don't want that. Sometimes you have to leave people where they are. It may be sad and hurtful and hard, but you may have to do that. Because of Proverbs 19. Proverbs 19, 20 to 21. Listen. Some people are not going to listen. So you got to leave them where they are. So in Psalm 118, verse 20, this is the gate. The righteousness is the gate that you're going to go, that the righteous is going to enter through. In verse 21, I thank righteousness, that righteousness answered I and have become I and I salvation, I and I future. That's where I want to be. I want to be where righteousness is, because righteousness is going to be that salvation. It's going to cover the earth as the water cover the sea. I mentioned this before. Right? Righteousness is going to cover the earth as the water cover the sea. So knowing that, we have an advocate. We have an advocate. Stay in our good place, okay? I got out of my good place, a couple days ago, and that wasn't good. So now I have to, look at myself. Look at myself. So I thank righteousness, because righteousness have answered and has become that future that I seek for. Okay. The stone and this is verse 22, Psalm 118, the stone that the builder rejected has become the cornerstone. So let me tell you something, y'all. When people leave you for someone else, they've rejected you. They've rejected you or rejected, who you are to them. Guess what? You're going to become the head of the cornerstone. That same rejected stone that the builder refused to use is going to be the head of the cornerstone. Is going to be right up front. Right up front. You're going to see me on Good Morning America. So, and verse 23 says, this is the Most High doing. This is righteousness' doing. So, guess what? It's marvelous to see. It's marvelous to see. And in verse 24, this is the day, right? This is the day. You can finish it. This is the day that righteousness has made. Let all of I and I rejoice in righteousness. In the day of righteousness. This is the day that righteousness has made. Let us rejoice in righteousness' day. Be glad. Be glad in it. Okay? Be glad in it. So you're rejoicing in righteousness. Be glad in it. Okay? Verse 25, save I and I. Righteousness has saved I and I as we communicate to righteousness. We're talking to God. You talk to the Most High. We will be given success. Okay? Success. You will see your success. I'm seeing it. Okay? I'm seeing it. I have an app. My app is about to go public. I mean, I'm not going to talk about it, but it's just, I'm seeing the fruits of my work coming to fruition. Everything I've worked hard for is coming to fruition. So I'm not going to invest in, I'm not going to worry or invest in an abyss, like putting myself giving into a hole that, I'm not going to say black hole because black is beautiful, but into a hole where there is no future. There's no righteousness in that, So verse 26, blessed is the one that comes now in the name of righteousness. Blessed is the one that comes in the name of long suffering, in forgiveness. Blessed is the one that comes in the name of compassion and mercy. Okay, when folks don't come with compassion and mercy and they come in with some other nefarious thing, that's not good. I rebuke all of the, I rebuke all of the wrong lies and deceit and, cursing people out on voicemails, that type of thing. I rebuke that. That to me is evil. Okay? And when people keep on with their evil behaviors, they're going to lead them to destruction. It's going to lead their children, it's just going to be a cycle of generational curse because they have not erred on the side of goodness. I remember I was on a bus from Baltimore to New York, and I was reading the book of Revelations. And this was years ago. I was reading the book of Revelation. I was like, oh my gosh, I got to change my ways because I have children. And when you have children, you are more accountable than anyone else to the Most High, because these are the Most High's children. So I tell families and I tell parents all the time to be for their children. My tea is cold, ice cold. We're at the 1:10 hour. Here we go, y'all. We have to really know this. So we bless from the house of righteousness, and righteousness is our God, is our Savior, and that has made a light to shine upon I and binds the festal sacrifice with cords up to the horns of the altar. So we see the end of this psalm that the Most High is righteousness, and we give thanks to that, and we extol that. We give thanks for righteousness is good, and that steadfast love endures for all time to come. So we see the steadfast love of the Most High endures for all time to come. And in that all time to come, we have that advocate. You know, we have that goodness, that mercy, that righteousness that prevails one for another. So Selah and Selah again. That's Psalm 118. I love it. We are up at the 1:12 hour, so I want to go quickly with the word of the day, prosperity. One with righteousness, you are prosperous. This is all tied in together. One of the sweetest gifts of having a prosperity awareness is the serenity of knowing you have enough and that you are enough. There may always be newer and nicer things to acquire. However, you can rob yourself of your peace of mind when you think you need these items to complete yourself, or that they will bring you lasting happiness. Okay? People leave relationships because they think that that's going to make them happy, when in fact it doesn't, because what the true prosperity comes from within. It's not from the outside. It's knowing that you're an heir to an abundant world and have the power to create life through the power of your thinking and your thoughts. So these awarenesses are the true keys to prosperous living. Being aware of that. So you turn your attention away from the things of the world, and toward your inner life. That oneness with righteousness. In righteousness, you have everything you need. So when we look at this word prosperity, we see that it's brought to you today by Deuteronomy 8:18. And Deuteronomy 8:18 speaks, remember righteousness. For righteousness is what gives you power to get wealth, so that you may, you may know the covenant that righteousness swore to your ancestors, as righteousness is doing today. So Deuteronomy is talking about you're going to be prosperous and wealthy when you remember to do good, when you remember righteousness. So in your despair, you call on that. You don't go call on a person, and go out with a person. People do that in their relationships. They go out on their relationships thinking that they can be happier with someone else. And they're not acknowledging this covenant, the covenant that was sworn to I ancestors, okay? as what's being done today. So we have to live in that, space. We must live in that space of righteousness so that we can see the fulfillment of that in our lives. And when our lives are chaotic and we don't have that fulfillment, we turn to other things. And these other things become our masters. They become master over us, okay? Meaning that they control your email, they control your phone, they control who you talk to. They become master over you. And when they become master over you, guess what happens? You're in the same cycle you were in, even probably worse. Now you're regretting that you even did what you did. So that's our psalm today. We had Psalm 118. We had the word prosperity. When you're one with righteousness, you're prosperous. And that was brought to you today by Deuteronomy 8:18. We had Psalm 118. And Psalm 118 gives us 29 verses of beauty. 29 verses talking about the steadfast love that's enduring forever. People, and talking about trusting in that righteousness, not in people, right? Thank you for liking this video. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much. As we outro, I wanted to let everyone know that it's important to for us to stand in love, not fall in it. And keep tuning in to see what this is going to be. Thanks for joining Chantasama Day, everyone. Have a blessed day. Take good care. I got to return some phone calls, so I'll be calling y'all. Have a blessed day. Stay safe in the hurricane. And love you all. Have a blessed, beautiful day. We're in the book of Mark for October 10th. We're looking at the power of the servant. You as a serving righteousness, you are powerful. Remember that. I have a great need for righteousness. I have a great righteousness for my need. So have a blessed day. Take care.